Good morning. Welcome to this 13th episode of the Farm Academy webinar series. This is one that is once again targeted at players in the retail pharmacy sector. And today we'll be talking about retail pharmacy location analysis. That's one big issue that seems to be a recurring decimal when it comes to challenges of community pharmacists, either in starting their businesses or in expanding their businesses. And we'll be looking at a wide range of issues that may affect us as we begin to look towards these lines. I thank everybody who has joined right now. I did a quick review of the participants we have. I can see people from Port Harcourt, from Ilorin. Our regular participants from the UK are here, Abuja, Ibadan, Ghana. Thank you very much for keeping faith with us. Apart from those I've mentioned, if for the next 1 minute, if you are from another part of town, another part of the world, another part of the country connected to this webinar, you may just want to drop it in the chat room so that we acknowledge your presence. So once I see, I'll only take a few. No need to mention no need to repeat the ones I've mentioned. I've mentioned Abuja, Port Harcourt, Ilorin, UK, Ibadan, Ghana. So let's, Anambra, thank you very much. You're welcome. Let's see a few more, and then I dive straight into the topic for today. We are fast getting close to the 100-man mark. Okay, so maybe everybody's from the places I've already mentioned. So we go. Oh, Ebony, thank you. I think I saw Calabar also earlier. So thank you everybody for connecting to Akwa Ibom. Thank you. Thank you for connecting. I trust you'll enjoy the webinar for today. Even though most of my examples will be Lagos based and a little bit of Abuja and Ibadan, the principles remain the same. So just enjoy the ride while it lasts. In the course of this presentation, we'll be inviting our partners from Bayer to speak briefly about Supradyn for about 10-15 minutes. And then after that, I come and then I wrap it up. So some years ago, I developed a 7 Ps framework for success at retail. And once again, I hope my teacher, Professor Larry Bale, is not connected yet, because I'm sure he'll join us before the end of the day. But these are my own 7 Ps for retail. Last time he told me that there are about 12 Ps for marketing, but for retail, it's 7 Ps I was able to pull up. And we have place, we have process, we have product placement, we have people, we have pleasure, we have price, and we have promotion. And so today we'll be focusing on place, and that is what location essentially is. But more importantly, you'll see that the place, the position where the P of place stays is what you can call the foundation. And so if you've been studying retail literature, you'd have heard the phrase location, location, location. And so that just goes to show how important the topic or the issue of location is. And I'm hopeful that if we are in a place where our location is good, but we have not yet put our best into it, then we can do that. What I usually tell people is if you find yourself running a pharmacy in a good location, but the pharmacy is not doing well, it's only a function of time. You will you will find out what is wrong, and then you can put it right. That function of time may take a few years, a few months to probably several years. However, if you are in a bad location, no matter what you do, unless something changes about that location, you most likely will struggle until you give it up. And so it's important for us to very carefully select our locations. And because one of the hardest things to find in Nigeria today, apart from gold and diamond on the streets, is a good pharmacy location. And so a number of us, and I've seen this happen over and over again, after a while, we get desperate, we get frustrated, and we settle for whatever comes. And we tell ourselves that, well, we'll start from here. Down the line, we'll get something better. And most times, we're never able to even get away from that first mistake we make. And so, let me just go and describe briefly what the location is. Location of a retail business, like I said, is the most important success factor in the life of that business. And so it's something you need to take very, very carefully. I think with a good dose of prayer supporting you, because with the way things are now, sometimes the forces against you are not only physical, sometimes you think that they are spiritual. And so in setting up a pharmacist has to check both the general location and the specific site. And I'll go down, I'll be explaining what that means shortly, so that we can appreciate what we're talking about. So what's the difference between a location and a site? We say here that location refers to the general position of a pharmacy. And I'll still go further down to do some further explanation. It can be a general area like Ikeja, Abakaliki, Kubwa, Calabar, Lekki. That can very well be described as a location. It can be a neighborhood like Lekki Phase 1, Unilag Estates, Ojodu Berger, Mile 1, depending on where you are, Rumukushi, it could be a neighborhood. It could also be a major road or a street or secondary street. So Fox Road, Aba, Adiola Odeku, those can also be termed locations. It could be a shopping mall, like Ikeja City Mall, the Palms, those can be referred to as locations. However, when you talk of a site refers to a store's specific spot or unit in a general location. So it can be number 15, Adiola Hopewell Street, Victoria Island. It can be store 2, Joy Plaza, Maza. You understand what I'm talking about now. So when you're talking about the site, you're talking about the exact place where the store will be. So I guess when PCN and PIC and the rest of them go around for inspections, it is more of a site inspection they are going for, not necessarily a location inspection. It's a site. They're looking at a specific site. And so when we are looking at this issue, I'd rather have us look at it in a hierarchical manner. So you take it from the state level to the zone, to the area, to the site. Why am I saying this? A number of us have failed in getting the best site for our businesses because we weren't looking in the wrong directions. And I'll explain a lot of that in the course of this webinar. So first of all, when you're looking at analyzing locations, you look at the states first of all to say, okay, fine. Where do I want to play? Is it Lagos? Is it Kano? Is it Imo? Is it Abuja? Is it Cross River? Is it Kogi? Where? Because at that point, we really should be looking for where are the opportunities. And then you now zero in. Let's assume I'm taking Lagos now. I want to go into Ikorodu or Victoria Island or Agege or Ikeja. Where exactly am I looking at? Okay, so it is Ikorodu. Where in Ikorodu? Is it Ogolondo? Is it Mishawo? You have to be, begin to zone down. And then after that, you now choose, okay, where exactly here do I want to play? This is very important because location dynamics go a long way in determining how well you do eventually. I might tell people that, especially those who are progressing from retail careers into retail ownership, I tell people that when you choose where you want to work and you are beginning to zero in, if you have an idea of the kind of pharmacy you want to run, then it's important that you get your experience from that kind of pharmacy that exists already. What do I mean? If you want to run a high street pharmacy, it may not make too much sense for you to go and work in, when I say high streets now, I mean, you want to be on Allen Avenue, you want to be in Victoria Island. It may not make sense to go and work in a pharmacy opposite General Hospital, Surulere, and that's where you have all your experience. Because the skill sets required for different types of pharmacy formats differ. And I'll come to pharmacy formats in a few slides from now. And so when we're looking at it hierarchically, whatever, pardon my, diction, we need to look at what the opportunities are in those areas. And that is one area we are lacking very seriously or very much in Nigeria. And that's essentially because we do not have data to work with. We do not have credible and verifiable data to work with. And so, let's go now searching for the opportunities. Where in Nigeria are the opportunities? A number of us want to, be in Lagos, be in Abuja, be in Port Harcourt, because we believe that's where the opportunities are. When we finish our schooling in all parts of the country, when we finish our service, we all want to go to the city center because we believe that is where the opportunities are. And that is not exactly correct. And I'll be citing a few examples of people who have gone against the grain of popular view and have a lot of good news to show with what they have come up with. Now, let us look at this interesting data. Don't worry, as usual, at the end of this webinar, you'll get the slides and you'll get the replay. So then you can zoom in and look at it. Now, when we look at opportunity, now I'm sharing with you statistical information about the pharmacy environment in Nigeria. The information we have here is not necessarily from the council, Pharmacist Council. I'll share the Pharmacist Council data with you shortly. But this is based on some work that, some research work that was done, and it was a geospatial mapping project. And because if you look at the readily available information from the council, what we have is pharmacy registration per year. And so if you do not register in a particular year, your name will not appear in that compendium that the council produces every year. And so when we looked at the data available, we saw that Lagos had the highest number of pharmacies, and this information is about a year old. So it's not accurate as of today. Lagos has about 2,000 plus pharmacies. Abuja has close to 1,000 pharmacies. Rivers has over 500 pharmacies. And then Ogun follows with 319. And then it continues to decrease until we get to the top there where we have Zamfara with only 5 pharmacies in the whole state. Now, if you look at this information, and I've done a teaching earlier about data, information, knowledge, and intelligence. If you look at this information, it will be wrong for you to take business decisions based on this information because this only shows one side of the story. And so I'll go ahead again and show us another perspective to this. And so this is what PCN has as at the end of last year. So what you do really is if you go to the Pharmacist Council office, there's a big book that is sold. That's the registered pharmacists and pharmacists per year. We took our time to mine the data there, and that's where this came from. And so even though we said that about 2,000 pharmacies in Lagos. Last year, only 1,637 registered. And then you can see, of course, the number continues to dwindle as it goes down. While we said Abuja had about 1,000, we have only about 660 here. But that's not where we are going. Now, let us look at this dynamic that we have here now. And it says that the last about 10 states of the Federation, starting from Ekiti to Ebonyi, to Borno, to Sokoto, to Bauchi, to Bayelsa, to Katsina, to Gombe, to Kebbi, to Jigawa, to Yobe, to Zamfara. All these states have less pharmacies than Lekki Phase 1 in Lagos. Lekki Phase 1 is just one estate in Lagos that has about 30-something pharmacies. And so when it's smaller than an area. When an area in Lagos has more pharmacies than some states with their huge population, you begin to wonder what exactly is happening. And so, I mean, thankfully, somebody is from Ebonyi here. From the data we have, we hear Ebonyi has 34 pharmacies. Now, there are places that have presented this data, and they were quick to challenge me that no, not all pharmacies, some of them are not registered, they are owned by pharmacists. And I said, look, like the way we normally would joke in other with other topics, let me extrapolate it into pharmacy. Pharmacy we know register, that one a pharmacy. So because whatever data you are going to work with, you will be working with data that the Pharmacists Council recognizes. So if you don't renew your license, you are not registered and all that, as far as the council is concerned, you're not on the radar. But there's something more interesting that I quickly punched together this morning. I said, if we add the number of pharmacies in Kebbi, Jigawa, Yobe, and Zamfara, that's 4 states, it's still not enough it's not up to the number of pharmacies that are in Lekki Phase 1. So the question now is it strictly about the number of pharmacies? I say no, because you don't open pharmacies for opening pharmacy's sake. You open pharmacies to serve a population, a human population. And so, okay, this is the geospatial map of Lekki Phase 1, and the blue spots you have there are the pharmacy locations in Lekki Phase 1. Now, like I said before, it's beyond number of pharmacies. So the same information I shared with you with the number of pharmacies is the same thing you have on the map on your left that has the green dots. So the green dots there represents the aggregation of pharmacies across the country. So you see very clearly that Lagos area, Abuja here, the East, Port Harcourt, they have a good number of pharmacies, while the North is largely uncatered for. Now look at the map on the right here, and that is a map that talks about the population density of Nigeria. So it makes a lot of sense that there are a lot of pharmacies, that Lagos has the highest number of pharmacies, because in Nigeria, Lagos has the highest population density. Population density is the number of people per square kilometer of space, of land. And for Lagos, it's 2,607. And I think the closest to it is Kano, which is 442, sorry. And so it tells us, and then closely also followed by Osun, followed by Ekiti, followed by, So it is this kind of, no, sorry, my analysis is wrong. After Lagos, we have Anambra, Imo, Abia, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Enugu. So you see that the Southeast also has a high population density. Please note, population density is people versus land. So it means that when you get there, you see a lot of people on a little land. Meanwhile, when you get to the north, you see a lot of land But then, yes, the people are there, but they are scattered over the land. And these are the kind of this kind of information you need to make business decisions. But most of us don't do the hard work of mining this data. And please don't ask me where we get this data, because I'm sure that's what will fill the question area very soon. Now, this is the slide I love the most. Now, here we spoke about people. So on the left, we have pharmacies on the Nigerian land. On the right, we have people on the land. And when we mix the two, we begin to look at pharmacies and the people, because pharmacies are not meant to serve the land, they are meant to serve people. And so when you look at it, this is what we have. You will see that even though Lagos has the highest number of pharmacies, Abuja has the highest pharmacy density. Pharmacy density is the number of pharmacies per population. And then it's followed by Lagos there, followed by Nasarawa. And you can be rest assured that Nasarawa is coming up very high, because a number of people who live in, who work in Abuja live in Nasarawa. So there's also a high number of pharmacies, they're serving that population. And most of them you will see on the borderline between Nasarawa and Abuja. And then there's Edo, Ogun, and the rest of them. And once again, at the back here, you'll see Zamfara, Jigawa, Kebbi, Katsina, Yobe, and the rest of them. And so you begin to look at all these things and use them to decide how you want to operate. And I remember sharing this data some years back, where my summary to most people who were in the audience there, I think it was at the Winner Twitter conference, was that everybody should go back to where they came from. Because most of you are from Katsina, from Kebbi, from Bauchi, from Sokoto, from Kano, but you are not at home. Yet there is a big gaping need for you at home. People want you to come back home and serve them and provide pharmaceutical care. Yet you are here in Lagos. Even when you are through with work in Lagos, you stay in Lagos, you stay in Ogun, stay wherever you are. Yet the opportunities you are looking for are available for you back home. And so this map here is a geospatial map that combines the population of Nigeria with the pharmacy spread, in Nigeria. And of course, you see that down here in Lagos, they are falling over themselves. In Abuja, the same thing. Down here in Port Harcourt, the same thing. And then, but you notice that up north, the numbers are few and far between. So let's look at the Abuja. I'm trying to build a case here, because most of us have zoned into city centers, and we fail to see the real opportunities as they exist. Now let me share this data with you, and this is working with I think the data we used there was the PCN data. And we saw something very interesting. Now earlier on in I think it was the 9th edition of the panel, our Retail Pharmacy Business Conference, the 12th of which is coming up in less than 5 weeks' time. And I'll be talking about that shortly. But then we were told then by representatives of the Pharmacists Council that at the time, 75% of local governments in Nigeria did not have at least one pharmacy in them. And you may think, oh, maybe it's those states in the north. I beg to differ. At the time, we found out that even Ogun State or your states had local governments that did not have one pharmacy in them. And sometimes we begin to wonder where we keep saying, oh, patent, and then we have refused to move into those places. I'm not saying patents are solutions, no. But when we say patent medicine is not a solution, we need to come up with a practical solution driven by pharmacists as the solution to pharmacy coverage in Nigeria. Please remember that nature abhors a vacuum. And if you won't go, the people there have to be catered for one way or the other. So back to my story. We found out then that Abuja was one of the few states, maybe plus Lagos, that had pharmacy presence in all local governments. Well, Abuja had just 6 of them, so maybe it's not too hard. But then let's look at it closely. How is the distribution of pharmacies across these 6 local governments? And this is the result. We found out that Amak has 406. Amak is Abuja Municipal Area Council. Buari is where Kubwa is located. Those have 84. Gwagwalada 32. Kuje 15. Kwale 3. And at the time, Abaji 1. I remember when I shared this data in Abuja, within a retail conference, a few people challenged and said, no, they know. I said these pharmacies are not registered or they didn't renew their licenses. It's difficult to work with data that we cannot process. But then so this is number of pharmacies. Now let's look at it versus population so that we can actually determine where the opportunities are. Because if any of us, for instance, moves into Abuja tomorrow, and you want to open a pharmacy, you most likely will go to Amak and join the crowd that's already in Amak. Now, this is the data. Amak, so it makes sense that we have the highest number of pharmacies in Amak because 60% of Abuja population is in Amak, based on the 2006 census figures that we have. So that tells us that farmer density, we have one pharmacy serving 4,846 people in Amak. However, by the time we get to Buari, it increases to one pharmacy to 6,917. Gwagwalada is to 12,000 plus. Kuje to 16,000 plus. Kwali to 72,000 plus. Abaji. There's only one there, so it is to 148,600. Now the question is this: are all the areas viable? No, but this has shown us that the opportunities are in places where we did not look or think. The reason then, what we need to do is to go into these places and search for where the people are. And technology has made it easier. I'm talking about technology down the line. Because ordinarily using your Google Map and Google Earth, it will tell you where the human beings are. You can then move in and then go and search for these people. Let me use Lagos as a classic example for you. And people say I keep using that example, the one I'm about to make, but then I don't have a better one, so I'll keep using it. And I tell people that one of the largest local governments in Lagos State is Badagry local government. But like we all know, Badagry is far from everywhere. Do you know that Badagry has probably the lowest number of registered pharmacies? I doubt if they're up to 10 pharmacies. I don't have the current data as of today, but I know they're up to 10 pharmacies. I'm nearly sure there's not up to 20 pharmacies in the whole of Badagry local government. About the second or third most populous local government in Lagos. So look at the Amak analysis I did this morning. I said 60% of Abuja population is in Amak. However, 75% of pharmacies are in Amak. And so we need to, so that shows us now that we have left the other opportunity areas and we're all concentrating in one place. And so at this point, I will invite the representative of Bayer to come on and talk to us about Supradyn. After this session, I will then go into the nitty-gritty of retail pharmacy location analysis. I'll be discussing 13 points you need to take note of as you go in search of your retail location. I look forward to coming back to you. Please, in between now and then, if you have any questions you already have and you want to ask, please send the questions into the Q&A section, and then at the end of my full presentation, I'll come back and address them. But now I'll be inviting pharmacist Ogechi Sholadoye, Head of Marketing, Bayer, to come and tell us about the Supradyn brand. Thank you very much. I'll be back.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. All right, so just let me know when you have my screen. I'm sharing my screen now.
We don't have it yet.
Okay, just.
Okay, it's coming up.
Can you see it now?
No. What we are seeing is a Zoom screen. Okay, we're expecting her back soon, but then okay, let me just wait a minute or so. If she's still having challenges, then I'll go ahead and talk briefly about the panel coming up in about 5 weeks' time.
Hello.
Yeah.
Amshina, please, can you enable sharing of screen?
I'm enabled you.
Okay, so I think it's going now. So yeah, well, it's coming up now. Please let me know when you have it.
It's up.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome on board. It's been a very interesting lecture so far, very insightful for me as a person, especially. So my name is Ogechi Sholadeye, as Pamshina has already said. I work with Bayer Middle Africa, and I'm here to talk about two major things. The first being the role of micronutrients in energy metabolism and boosting the immune system. And then the second being about supradin, what supradin is. Supradin, I usually call supradin number one on two levels. First is the number one product that got into the market as a multivitamin, the very first global multivitamin brand that came into the market in 1969. Secondly, it's the number one multivitamin in Europe at the moment based on IQVIA sales data. So it's the highest selling multivitamin in Europe at the moment. So I'll go straight into the presentation. I'll just introduce a little bit for people who don't know Bayer, what Bayer is. Bayer is a global enterprise made up of three divisions: pharmaceuticals, consumer health, and crop science. One of our missions is health for all and hunger for none. So we have three different divisions that handle that vision or that mission. It was established in 1863. We have branches in over 90 countries. An interesting thing to note about Bayer is that Bayer discovered aspirin. The aspirin, I call it the wonder molecule, was discovered in 1920. Aside from aspirin, we currently have in Nigerian market Supradin, Claritin, Proviron, Primolut, Xarelto, and Adalat. So let's go straight into the presentation. The concept of phenotypic flexibility. Okay, so the human body is constantly working to maintain and restore homeostasis using many interdependent biological processes. And homeostasis is defined as the maintenance of constant internal environment. I usually use this analogy. If you see a car driving down Third Mainland Bridge, for example, as it drives down Third Mainland Bridge, to continue in that particular speed, as long as there's no problem with the engine, everything is working perfectly, your batteries are fine, everything is fine, the car will continue to drive at that speed and get you to your destination. The same way with the human body. The body is constantly working to maintain and restore homeostasis. The different organs and systems function in such a way to ensure that everything works well, and at the end of the day, you stay healthy. Now, imagine basically, as despite the fact that the body is working to maintain homeostasis, you have different circumstances or challenges that a person might be exposed to during the day that can shake or challenge the internal balance and thus homeostasis. Examples of these are high energy demands, physical exercise, fighting pathogens, even the normal cycles, menstrual cycles and all. These are processes or things that might come up that could challenge the constant internal environment. If you look at my analogy of a car, imagine a car running through Lekki flood. That is something that can challenge the normal workings of the car. So the same thing with the human. If you have increased energy demands, these things will challenge your the homeostasis or your normal physical function, your physiology. No, so we've stated that the ability of the body, there's a concept known as phenotypic flexibility, and that refers to the ability of the body to adapt to these everyday challenges I just mentioned or stressors. It's a fundamental for good health. It's a concept that is still being studied, but it is said that the higher the phenotypic flexibility a person has, the better the person is able to resist challenges and stay healthy. So having said that, what are the things that help with phenotypic flexibility? What are the things that help the body maintain homeostasis, that help the different organs and systems function as they should in order to ensure that there's homeostasis? So these are what we call micronutrients. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals that are needed in tiny amounts in the body, but which are involved in almost all metabolic processes. Processes such as enzyme and hormone production, energy generation, recovery from illness, immune function. Now, all these processes, as I said initially, are important in ensuring that homeostasis is maintained. Just like your car, the engines and the batteries, everything has to function well to ensure that your car is functioning perfectly and can get you to your destination. The different organs and every system needs to function at optimal levels to ensure that you stay healthy. And micronutrients play a huge role in all these processes, So having said that micronutrients are very important, what are the requirements? That's what people will ask. How much of the micronutrients do we need to ensure that our bodies are functioning optimally and we have phenotypic flexibility and we're able to maintain homeostasis in our bodies? There's what we call the recommended dietary allowance, which is the average daily level of intake needed to meet the minimum nutrient requirements for nearly all healthy people. And this is based on research and data, different trials conducted in a healthy population. So this is a guide. The RDA acts as a guide. It gives recommended levels for each individual that they should take in through their diet, or if they can't get that amount to the diet, then they take supplements. But RDA is basically a guide. Now, one thing interesting to note is that there is evidence of shortage of key micronutrients among active individuals. Now, there are various studies that have been conducted in different parts of the world that have shown that the average individual, for example, if you look at the study that is currently on the slides now, in UK, there was a low-income diet and nutrition survey conducted in 2007, and that study showed that vitamin C, there was low levels of vitamin C in 47% of men and 35% of women, and they had depleted plasma concentrations of vitamin C. So that means that almost 5 out of the 10 men that walk into the pharmacies over there probably had low or depleted plasma concentrations of vitamin C. Now, if you look at that slide a lot, very well, you see a lot of different studies in different climes, Canada, Germany, UK, where it was shown that a lot of people actually have depleted levels or deficiencies of some of these key micronutrients, which are useful in maintaining homeostasis and ensuring that the patients, people stay healthy. Now, what is the effect of suboptimal micronutrient levels? Why are we talking about suboptimal micronutrient levels? On the short term, there are 3 major things that are shown as symptoms of suboptimal micronutrient levels. One being low energy, tiredness, and second being tiredness, and the third being impaired immunity. I see someone is raising their hands. But maybe if you have a question, maybe we can take it at the end of the presentation. Is that fine? Okay. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. So suboptimal levels of micronutrients could lead to low energy, tiredness, and impaired immunity. So these three things are, on the short term, some of the symptoms that you get to see with patients who have low levels of micronutrients. I see a lot of people are raising their hands. So let me just check what's in the chat. Yeah.
Just go ahead, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just go. It's better I just finish the presentation and then I'll just take questions there. Okay. So on I talked about the effects of so on short term, low energy, tiredness, and impaired immunity. And then on the long term, interestingly, we found out that suboptimal micronutrient status can impact the risk of coronary chronic diseases such as coronary heart disease, cancer, and osteoporosis. So it's very important. Why I highlight this is that as pharmacists, we are like the very first point of call for the community, the first healthcare practitioners that they have contact with, especially in this season. A lot of people are scared of going to the hospital. We need to educate them on the need to eat well, on the need to take the right amount of micronutrients to prevent on the short term low energy, tiredness, and low immunity, and to prevent on the long term osteoporosis, coronary heart disease, and cancer. So just a brief, we're all pharmacists, so I just want to remind you of how the micronutrients support the sickness and recovery period, or help to support the immune system. Now, what studies have shown is that micronutrients work together synergistically in many of the body's immune response processes. So, for example, we all know that vitamin C supports with white blood cell production, and the different vitamins act at different points to support the immune system response. But another interesting thing I want to mention is the fact that they actually work in synergy. So it's actually a lot better to ensure that you have a diet with all the different vitamins at the right levels, instead of just focusing on one of the antioxidants, for example. So I just wanted to highlight that. They work synergistically to support the immune response process. Vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin D, you should have them in right amounts to help support the immune response. Data shows that when somebody falls ill, there is a rapid fall in the concentrations or the plasma concentrations of vitamin A, C, and E. Why? Because they are recruited to support the immune response. When these nutrients are replenished, the immune system recovers and symptoms improve. And this is the reason why we encourage people who are recovering or recuperating to eat well. Take as much, WHO recommends 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. They should eat well to ensure that their micronutrient levels are being replenished even as they recover. Another thing that affects people who are ill is the fact that antioxidants also lead to further depletion of certain micronutrients. Aside from antibiotics affecting it, during infection, absorption of micronutrients may also be impaired. So we cannot overflog the importance of micronutrients of a patient or consumers taking in micronutrients even before they fall ill. Now, I also wanted to show this excerpt from the ESPEN guidelines on nutrition. It was recently modified to reflect the current pandemic, and it shows that low levels of intakes of micronutrients such as vitamins A, E, B6, and B12, zinc, and selenium have been associated with adverse clinical outcomes during viral infections. So what does that mean? It means that even before, if any, at this point, if a patient who hasn't caught any of the viral infections, so you should actually be taking adequate amounts of these micronutrients, because eventually there's improved outcomes for people who have optimal levels of these vitamins, and it helps with fighting the infection. Vitamin D deficiency has also been associated with a number of different viral diseases, including influenza. And vitamin D is also one of the vitamins that has been highlighted as an important vitamin in supporting the immune function and helping prevent respiratory diseases and viral respiratory infections. So we've talked about micronutrients in immunity. Let's briefly look at micronutrients and how they help with fighting stress and fatigue. So increased energy metabolism, such as during demanding physical activities, require key micronutrients for various reactions and processes that take place in the mitochondria. What I'm trying to say here is that when usually there's a process called cellular respiration where food that is taken in is converted to ATP, which is the energy currency of the cell, and which is the energy currency that is used by each organ to mediate their different functions and processes, relating back to the first slide talking about homeostasis. Now, the energy that is required comes from food and has to be broken down in the mitochondria. Micronutrients play a huge role in this process. So you can see from this slide, B vitamin, C vitamin, iron, copper, magnesium, they all act as catalysts in that cellular respiration process to optimize the conversion of food to energy, which patients need. What do they do with this energy? They use it for their normal functions, the functioning of the different organs and systems. Suboptimal micronutrient status may therefore affect recovery after activities that cause increased energy expenditure, because your organs are using the ATP up when they are involved. Your mental energy, for example, physical exertion uses up the energy. And so it's important that you have optimal micronutrient status to ensure that the processes are going on as they should, as effectively as they should be going on. So just to highlight that, I mentioned that energy is necessary for a lot of the functionings of the different organs of the body. Fatigue is not only a consequence of physical exercise, but is a common feature of today's busy lifestyle. So it's not only when you exercise that you feel tired. 7 to 45% of the population commonly report feeling tired, fatigued, or having low energy. When there is no underlying disease, it's sometimes due to insufficient micronutrient intake. As pharmacists, what's our role? Encourage them to eat a healthy diet, and in the next 10 minutes will be done. Yeah, sorry. I was saying that as pharmacists, our role is to encourage them to eat well. Like I said, you're the first point of call. Encourage them to eat a proper diet. The WHO recommendation is 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, and it's important we're sharing this information as much as possible with our customers. Okay, so finally, in rounding up, I have about 5 more slides and a short video, but I'll just mention what supradin is. We already know what supradin is. It's a unique energy releasing formula that catalyzes the transformation of food to body energy within every cell. It's the #1 multivitamin brand in Europe based on IQVIA sales data as at Q4 2019. And what it shows is that we have the highest, supradin has the highest sales in that region among multivitamins. Supradin is the first multivitamin that was introduced to the world, to the market globally. Some people know it was the first to come into Nigeria, but sometimes when I tell them it was the first to come in globally, they are surprised, but it was actually the first to come in globally. What does supradin contain? 3 times the RDA of water-soluble vitamins, vitamin C and vitamin B. And this is part of the reasons why it's actually very effective in its energy claim. And you see further down how it's clinically proven, and we have data and trials to show it. It has vitamin D, it has zinc, it has selenium, vitamin E, and 600 micrograms of folic acid. Other important minerals in it include iron, and calcium. One interesting thing also is that in the new SKU are bringing in, it's going to also contain coenzyme Q10, which is very helpful in patients who have cardiovascular disease, and also supports with its energy claim. So supradin is clinically proven to reduce stress, tiredness, and fatigue, and also increase energy levels. And we have data to show it. We have data ranging from 2010 to 2018. And I'll share a short video on the 2016 data. But most of these, all of these studies actually were able to show that supradin was effective in reducing stress, tiredness, and fatigue in all the subjects. And they were all pharmaceutical in terms of the levels of the trials. They were double-blind, randomized studies. So let me just go quickly to one of the slides. The trials called Kennedy et al. This is the last slide.
Supradin contains a broad range of essential vitamins and minerals required for optimal energy metabolism. There is already considerable research on the impact of individual micronutrients. However, Bio recently partnered with Northumbria University in Newcastle in order to conduct one of the first clinical studies analyzing the effects of combined vitamin and mineral supplementation on energy metabolism.
We took a group of healthy females and we gave them 3 different treatments. We gave them a vitamin mineral dose of 1 RDA, recommended daily allowance, plus coenzyme Q10, 3 RDAs, and then also a placebo.
Assessments took place after a single intake and again after 2 months of daily treatment. Participants completed tasks simulating the energy demanding activities of a typical busy lifestyle.
And the idea here was that if you actually take different tasks, different difficulty, you'll actually see a measurable change in the body's use of energy.
2 cutting-edge technologies were used during completion of the tasks to evaluate the effects of Supradyn on energy-related parameters. Using indirect calorimetry to measure oxygen uptake and carbon dioxide output, energy production was quantified. Just 1 dose of Supradyn increased energy production in a dose-dependent manner. Long-term intake showed even greater benefits. In another assessment, near-infrared spectroscopy was used to measure local blood oxygen concentration in order to determine local blood flow and energy requirements. Compared to placebo, Supradyn increased total blood flow after a single dose, allowing enhanced delivery of energy substrates to areas of metabolic activity. These vasodilatory properties of Supradyn seem to be enhanced by coenzyme Q10.
One of the most interesting aspects of this study was that we actually found the effects both on energy and on cerebral blood flow starting 60 minutes after taking the dose.
To confirm the absorption of Supradyn's nutrients and the benefits of long-term intake, nutritional status was assessed by measuring vitamin D and homocysteine, an indicator for B vitamin status. The participants' nutritional status, which was generally not optimal at the beginning of the study, was able to be recharged by long-term daily use of Supradyn.
It seems likely that a larger proportion of the population than we generally tend to think have less than adequate nutritional status. So really anybody that isn't eating a particularly good diet may well find that a multivitamin mineral is useful for energy production.
Supradyn, clinically proven to support energy production.
Thank you. So that's the last slide. In conclusion, adequate intake of micronutrients is necessary for maintaining homeostasis and staying healthy. For a significant number of people, a gap exists between micronutrient intakes and the requirements as stated in the RDA. This often leads to tiredness, weakness, fatigue, and susceptibility to diseases. Now, Supradyn is a high-strength multivitamin containing 13 vitamins and 10 minerals that support the immune system. Supradyn is also, aside from supporting the immune system, is also clinically proven to reduce tiredness, stress, and fatigue. Regular intake of Supradyn will help increase energy levels in healthy individuals and also support sick individuals in recovery. So thank you so much. That's my presentation. If you have any questions, please.
Thank you. Questions will come at the end when we're taking questions generally.
Thank you.
All right. So quickly, I'll be taking it over from here. Okay. Okay, so like I said, before I move into the rest of my presentation, which will be the hand-holding process for retail pharmacy location analysis and site selection. I just want to walk us through the forthcoming Retail Pharmacy Conference, the 12th in the series. We started the panel 2009, and by God's grace, we have held the conference every year since then. And this is the 12th in the series. When we started our planning, there was nothing like COVID in the horizon, but then here we are. We're in a storm right now, and then we went back, dug into our energy bank, and we came up to the theme, Ride Out the Storm. And so that's what we are going to be doing in about 5 weeks' time. The date is August 11th to 13th. And rather than cancel the conference or shorten the conference, we're actually extending the conference. So it started as a one-day conference. We did that for 7 years. And then by panel 8, we evolved into a 2-day conference, because at that point, about 40% of our participants were people from outside Lagos. And so at that point, we felt that if people were going to be traveling from far and wide, they come from all over the country. The last check, we had people from 25 states attending the panel. That was last year. We felt we needed to give them more value for their time. And so we expanded to a 2-day conference, and that has lasted for 5 years. And this year we are introducing our 3-day hybrid conference. Why do we call it a hybrid conference? It's hybrid because we are not planning a webinar conference. No, it's not a webinar conference. There's going to be a live conference. So the only difference is that we will now be streaming that live conference to the whole world. And so whether you are sitting there from UK, from US, from Ghana, from South Africa, you can join the panel this year. This is really riding out the storm. And rather than being held captive by the storm, we are taking the game to the next level. On the left of the screen here, we have some of our past speakers. From panel 7, we had Biorhythm, a strategy consultant working with us. Panel 8, we had that 2016, we had Fola Adeola, founder of GT Bank. Panel 9, 2017, we have Cosmas Maduka, founder of Costaris Group. Panel 10, Akim Bello Osage, 2018, he was the keynote speaker, and last year was Leo Stan Eke. And interestingly, as part of Leo Stan Eke's presentation last year, he said he was having a discussion, or was an argument with the Reverend Father. And the argument was taking the church online. And it was a heated argument, and the only place the Reverend Father got him in a corner was when he said, how will we serve communion online? That was August last year. COVID-19 has totally turned things around, and everything he said has come back. Right now, different churches have fashioned out different ways of administering communion online. That's the kind of insight you get when you attend the panel. Now, a few people have been worried that how can I spend 3 days of data? Don't worry. Reload has decided to reload your phones to make sure that you can get free data to watch the panel for 3 days. All you will need to do to maximize this opportunity is, once the links for viewing are set up, you will need to reduce the resolution of your viewing so that you don't consume too much data. We'll explain that even as the events unfolds. And it's still in line with the COVID-19 season we are in, as people move around less, especially the elderly, they don't go around as much as they should. Your pharmacy should actually be delivering products to customers at home. If you need a bike, just register for the panel and the bike might be yours. If you look at the history of the panel, crazy gifts are always given away at the panel, and this year will be no different. Our sponsors, we can't thank them enough. Even Supradin, that just finished the presentation, is already on board with us for the panel. All these companies have thrown their hat into the ring, and it promises to be the biggest and the best conference. Once again, it's August 11th to 13th, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Because it's an online, the larger percentage of the audience will be connecting online. Last year, physically, we had close to 400 people traveling in. And so now we believe we should be able to double that number by those who will connect online. So it's a hybrid conference. A few people will be in the studio with us for the conference, while the larger percentage will be at home or at work or on the road viewing the conference. We have 12 clinical master classes over this 3-day period. It's unprecedented. You're going to learn like never before at the feet of people who really know their onions. For some of us who always think about, oh, when we go for conferences, we get conference price for purchases and all that, don't worry, we got you covered. On our conference portal, there's a portion there for purchases of products at crazy discounts and all that. And that's for only those who register for the conference. We have a dedicated conference portal that will handle the whole conference experience. You then ask another question. When I place my order, how will I get my products? Don't worry. New Heights Pharmaceuticals, our distribution partner, has agreed to work with us. So for most of the companies that you are ordering from, they will deliver the products to you. That's part of the package. But the part New Heights is going to handle for us is, now when you come for conferences, you know, you have your conference bags, you have those fantastic panel notebooks you don't want to miss, all your stationery and all that. There are going to be a lot of giveaways. New Heights Pharmaceuticals, our distribution partner, will send conference packages to everybody that registered. Whether you are in Makurdi, or you are in Ebonyi, or you are in Calabar, or you are in Akwa Ibom, at the end of the conference, you are going to get your conference package delivered to you. Not only that, the full conference recording will be sent to you even in that package. What else are you waiting for? Once the registration gates open, make sure you register. How much is it? 20,000 for early birds who register before the end of July, and 25,000 in August. We are going to have a virtual exhibition, first of its kind in the industry. You don't want to miss it. Our keynote address speaker, Mr. Lulu Akinwumi, founder, Group CEO of Prima Garnet Group, has an amazing treasure trove of business stories and experiences you do not want to miss out on. The date again, 11 to 13 August. Make sure you don't miss it. Our prices are unprecedented in this industry. I can assure you, between 11 and 13th of August, prizes worth over ₦1 million will be given away to people who participate. Ask those who come for the panel, they know what I'm talking about. And there's one last thing. We are right now discussing with the Pharmacists Council to accredit the panel as an MCPD awarding event. If and when we get this approval, without increasing how much you are paying, you will be getting MCPD points for attending this educationally packed conference. So you pay 20,000, maybe from it, you get 15,000 worth of MCPD points, free data and everything. That means you are practically attending the panel for free. That's what we do when we do the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, you can't afford to miss this year's panel. It promises to be the best. The moment the registration portal opens, we'll send you all the links, and then make sure you register, make sure you take advantage of the early bird discount, and then August 11, we'll roll out the party, the educational party that is. Thank you very much. See you again at the panel. Okay, end of commercial, back to business. So, and I'm going to run from here to the end of this webinar. So how do you start your location selection journey? Potential customers are always going somewhere. They're already going somewhere to buy their drugs. So the question you need to ask yourself is, why should they come to me? I see a number of pharmacies whose answer to this question is because I'm a pharmacist. Hello, there are many pharmacists out there. There are many pharmacies out there. What makes you different from the crowd? That is something you must be able to answer and communicate clearly to your customers. So the first thing you do is to analyze the population. Study the demography of that area. Is there a population that is large enough to support your pharmacy? It's not enough to say that, oh, because you just built a retirement home somewhere in a developing area of your state, you want to open a pharmacy there. Well, if you do, you know you have to wait for the people to come and join you in that area. You need to understand the customer needs Talk with the community members about what they want. Don't just go driving about the whole state. You see a space that looks good, you say, okay, there's nobody around. You quickly go and pay and do, and yet you do not understand what that environment needs. Ask the question, what are current pharmacies in that area doing that's frustrating them? I'll give you an instance. I once had a pharmacy I was consulting for very many years ago, and they were very okay, doing business and doing great until a major force came into that location. And guess what? This pharmacy used to close by 8 o'clock and they're fine. They don't open on Sundays, they go to church. But by the time this new formidable force came in, started closing by 10 p.m., opened on Sundays, this pharmacy had to quickly re-strategize and open. The first day they opened, a customer came in and said, at last, now you're open. Every day I want to buy things on Sunday, I need to drive by and go somewhere else. And so you need to be in touch with the people who are the prospective customers in that area. Find out what ails them. What can you bring that will change the game? Drive around at different times of the day to understand the area better. I'll talk about this down the line. This is something we fail to do, but maybe I should just address it now so that I just keep over it down the line. Sometimes you go to an area and it looks very dull because you went to inspect the location around 12:01. For you to settle on a location, you need to visit at different times of the day. Go there early in the morning, go there in the afternoon, go there in the evening, so that you can understand the traffic pattern. There are areas where you need to open very early because people are going to work and they need to pick something before they go. And then there's a silent period, and then in the evening when they are coming. So you need to understand all these things. You need to assess the market opportunity. For you to develop a solid plan, you must understand where your business currently stands and where it's heading to in the near future. And dear colleagues, there's something we don't do as pharmacists, and that is marketing. Offering better customer service than the competition is something that will keep people coming back. But that's not what will bring them in the first time. So you need to go out and announce your arrival. Tell them we are coming soon. Not just by putting a banner on your door and say pharmacy opening soon. No, you need to be more strategic and deliberate about your success. And it says here, plan to start off with a store opening event. I'll speak more on that as I move on. Connect with the community. There was a slide I was going to share, but I just decided to take it down. Now, there's this issue. If people have challenged me about it, they say I keep talking about retail pharmacy. I say, no, that I'm talking about community pharmacy. So whether it's community or retail, we're talking about the same thing. But my challenge is this: when we think too much in the line of community pharmacy, I know the argument of those who say that is that pharmacy is a service, you should be, it's about clinical service. I agree with you 120%. But then you also need to agree with me that pharmacy is a business. And so when I say retail pharmacy, I'm thinking business. And so the question is this: what if you think too much about community, you begin to box yourself into the fact that, oh, the only people I'm meant to serve are people in this community. You need to get out of the box and throw the box away and see the whole world as your community, using retail as the primary driver. So make sure you engage your community, whether it is where the school, whether it is in places of worship, in offices. Make sure you're out there in their faces. As you plan to go, get the word around. You can do your PR, do your marketing. A number of us will come back to me and say, oh no, PCN says you should not advertise your pharmacy. Hello, I didn't say go and tell them you are the best pharmacy in town, every other person is useless. No, go and offer a valued service and let them know where you are coming from. That is marketing. So I'll go back 12 years to the first edition of the panel. And that I'll be referring to a presentation made by the founder CEO of Kunle Ara Pharmacy in Ibadan. At the time, he said his story, he went through literature and could not find any proper classification of retail pharmacy. So he attempted to do one. And so I'll be sharing what he did 12 years ago. Unfortunately, I was not able to reach him to see if there's a second or third or fourth version. So I'll be sharing with you what he told us at the panel. This picture, like you can see here, was taken on the 23rd of September 2009, the first edition of the panel. Indeed, we have come a long way, over 12 years. His classification was based on 3 major parameters. Number 1 was population density of the location of the place. And I can't say it enough. When you are looking for a retail location, the major thing you want to know is, are people living there and in what quantity? So population density is important. The income level of the people you plan to serve, and then also the ease of accessibility of the pharmacy to your prospective customers. Using this description, he broke pharmacies' classifications into 11, and I'll be sharing that with you. The first one is these first 4, and they are based on high income areas. So the first one is a high income, high density neighborhood or residential pharmacy. Second is high income, high density street pharmacy. Third is high income, low density neighborhood pharmacy, and then high income, low density street pharmacy. Let me try and put some areas to tie to this. So I may say high income, high density may be a Lekki phase 1, which is because even though it sounds like an anomaly, rich people don't like a crowd. You know, they like to live on their own, you know. But then for the purposes of this discussion, let's assume that a Lekki phase 1 or a Victoria Garden City can qualify as a high income, high density residential pharmacy, residential area. Another area, and so if I look at the high income, high density streets, I'm looking at an Adeola or Deku. I'm looking at an Allen Avenue, you know. The businesses there are high profile businesses, and it's a high density area. The next one is a high income, low density neighborhood pharmacy. For that one, I may be looking at a place like all those reserved estates in Lekki, you know, is that something villa, something est, you know, all those estates that are, you know, there are not too many people there. The richest of the rich, maybe Banana Island, I've never been there, that may qualify. And then there's a high income, low density street pharmacy. So maybe some streets in VI where it's off a major street, but then, I mean, it still is, but there are not too many people there, you know. That could go there. The reason why this is important is because if you're in a high income area, the products you carry must also follow that pattern. Your packaging and your outlook must follow that pattern. You must be on top of your game, because these are guys whose doctors before COVID were in the UK and the US. These are guys who get prescriptions from the US and they're coming to look for something that doesn't exist. These are guys who probably, there may be expatriates and all that. So you really need to raise your game to serve them. The next category of pharmacies are medium income, high density neighborhood pharmacies, medium income, high density street pharmacies, medium income, low density neighborhood, and all that. So for medium income, high density, I mean, looking at a place like Ogba in Lagos. Unfortunately, like I said, I may not be able to do the same for other areas across the country. But please bear with me and use the definitions I've shared to come up with the areas that fit this description where you are. And so medium income, high density, and then low density like that. Then the next one is low income, high density neighborhood, low income streets, low income, low density, low income, low density. My dear colleagues, please, I beg you, don't be found strategically locating yourself in a low income, low density neighborhood or street pharmacy. It simply means that the people there can't afford, and there are not many. And what that simply tells you that you're going to struggle for a long time. Now, low income, high density is not a problem. All you need to do as a pharmacy is to provide the level of goods and services at the level of their income. What that means is that you may not be stocking tier 1 products. You will be stocking products that are probably largely tier 2 Indian products. Oh, sorry, let me not use India or whatever. Yeah, India, China, products that are not premium products. Those will be your go-to products in those areas. So rather than going to give a 5,000, 2,000 naira antihypertensive, you'll be giving something of a lower value. I'm not sure whether omeprazole is scarce in the country, but a colleague was sharing with me that she bought a pack of omeprazole yesterday for less than 200 naira. And in my mind, I was wondering how much is the API. So in these kind of areas, the work you need to do, because your credibility is at stake, the work you need to do is to diligently research low-priced, good quality products that you can render to this population and then serve them. And these are the kind of populations that dwell largely on clinical services. You want to see doctor. And so that's where your clinical expertise comes in serving that population. And then the last category, according to the classification by pharmacist Abiola Adekunle, founder of CEO of Kunle Ara Pharmacy Ibadan, 12 years ago, is what you call the hospital practice-based neighborhood and street pharmacy. And that applies to what he practices. He's opposite UCH. There are always pharmacies opposite hospitals. And it's important for you to note that if your pharmacy is located opposite a hospital, your stocking pattern and your inventory management practices have to be very carefully thought through, or else you'll find yourself being shot in the foot, if not the head. And then the last one he called was a potpourri pharmacy, which is a mix of everything, not clearly delineating one from the other. After this, so that's his classification. I'll then go forward and look at pharmacy formats, and then look at how they apply and what you should be doing. Now, you know, for instance, that there are pharmacies in the airports. And so if you are lucky or if you find yourself in an airport, you should understand that your stocking pattern or your practice pattern will be very different from if you're in town. So because if you are in this kind of place, you would most likely be dealing with people who are on the go, who probably forgot their medication at home or something. So it really should trigger a different way of thinking. Now there's pharmacy in a supermarket. And so if you look at the Just Right network of pharmacies, for instance, they are always in a pharmacy, in a supermarket. We have Baido Pharmacy in, I think, Ebano supermarket. I know there are branches of Net Pharmacy that are either in the Prince or Oasis supermarket. Now, there's a reason why pharmacies are situated in supermarkets. Supermarkets actually, large supermarkets and hypermarkets actually seek out pharmacies to come into their business, into their supermarket, because in this way, the pharmacy tends to serve as an anchor tenant. What does that mean? Pharmacy naturally attracts footfall. So when you put your pharmacy in a supermarket, it is because the supermarket owner knows that when people know there's a pharmacy there, it will attract a footfall. Conversely, you are also leveraging the footfall of the supermarket. So I tell people that the success of a pharmacy in a supermarket is closely tied to the success of the supermarket itself. So if you're working with a supermarket chain that is popular, like Spar, like Ebano and the rest of them, just because they open in an area, they have a recognizable brand. And once people come into the pharmacy, they will find you there. So that is the explanation of that format. Now we have pharmacies in the mall, plaza, or complex. Now that's a little bit different now, because when you are in a mall, you are usually the pharmacy in a mall is not the anchor tenant. It is the cinema, it is the large hypermarket that is the anchor tenant. The pharmacy then feeds off that. And then I say here pharmacy in a school. What I'm trying to refer to is having a pharmacy in a university or a polytechnic or higher institution of learning. Usually there's one in most institutions. And I think I found out when I went to, I can't remember which state I went to have a speaking engagement. And I found out that in that state, I think it was University of Illinois or something, that there's no pharmacy inside the university. And I was shocked. Because remember I said your location is tied to population, and the university environment is a place with a high population. And interestingly, there are a high population of two extremes, but I'll call them extremes, the very young students and their lecturers. And so your ability to provide a service that meets the need of these target population will really do you well. And then so now I'm looking at other formats now. Initially I said pharmacy in supermarket. Now I'm talking about pharmacy and supermarket. And so you're looking at a business like Net Pharmacy. A Net Pharmacy, for instance, in Lagos and in a few other places where they have standalone branches, they have a heavy supermarket presence in their businesses. And a whole lot of pharmacies also run that model. And that's because you expect that people, apart from picking their drugs, are also picking convenience goods. I'm sharing this format with you so that when you go out in search of locations, you also begin to think of what format are you going to apply. We're beginning to see pharmacy and bakery, or pharmacy and food. And that, like I said, is because you want to leverage, different things to draw footfall into your store. Because normally, especially when it's a bakery, there's a strong role aroma plays in the buying process. And so if you have a bakery if you know or appreciate the smell of fresh bread, it can do wonders for you. And so those are the kind of things that you want to look at when you're going for location analysis. Next is pharmacy and veterinary. This is one crusade we've been championing, and it's like a national fight championed by pharmacist Taufik Odukoya and the Vanguard Pharmacy team, starting from Ibadan and following the footprints everywhere they go, from Oshogbo to Abeokuta, and their latest store in Ologunere, Ibadan. They are aggressively pushing the veterinary frontiers, and it's really paying off for them. If you notice, veterinary pharmacy was one of the first webinar sessions that we had when we started Pharm Academy. And once we open our portal, the Pharm Academy learning portal, you'll be able to access those materials once again. And then there's pharmacy and cosmetics. A Net Pharmacy also plays big in cosmetics. I think MedPlus plays big in cosmetics. For Health Plus built a separate cosmetics brand, Casabella. And so in some areas, you find them co-locating together. And therefore, I call this pharmacy with clinical services. This is the kind of, where the pharmacy largely thrives on consultation. And this is a place where you have the likes of Victory Drugs, in Festac, Silverline Pharmacy in Aguda. I think Pillbox also plays big in the clinical space. And so these are formats you can use. And I say these formats must be tailored to the environment you find yourself. So now we're getting closer to the nitty-gritty and towards the end of this webinar. And I say in search of 200 meters or 30 square meters. And like I said before, it's a very grueling search. And part of the reason why people find it difficult is because so many people are looking for these same scarce resources because of the 200-meter gap. So even before you can rationally think through the process of evaluating location, you quickly go and pay because you don't want somebody else to take it before you come back. And that has led a lot of people into making very bad decisions. It is further complicated by the dynamics of location inspection, which have to do with PIC, PCN, and all the rest. At the end of my presentation, I'll address some of these issues and share my thoughts, even though I know they won't be popular, but if you wait till the end, you will hear my very unpopular comments. Okay, so I said for every location, the success depends on your why. Simon Sinek wrote a book that says start with why. And the question I'm asking is, why are you opening this pharmacy? Is it a side hustle? You are in the hospital, you are in the community, and then you just want to have something by the side. There's this, and I'm going into a little bit of murky waters, but I think it's important we talk about it. There's the issue of satellite pharmacies that's been discussed by PCN, and it's a very, very strategic and important move by the council. But what disturbs me about it is the interpretation I hear people giving it. And the things I'm hearing are, you can now be a lecturer or be a hospital pharmacist and then have a pharmacy somewhere, and then, you'll be, and I'm like, if you are not starting that pharmacy to meet a need or to deliver a service, then you most likely get burnt at the end of the day. You really need to understand what pharmacy is, community pharmacy. It is not child's play. So because if you say, okay, I'm a lecturer and I want to have a patent, it's a fantastic idea. Yes, go ahead. And please, but based on my understanding, today, nothing stops a lecturer or a hospital pharmacist from having a pharmacy. The law only says that you should employ a superintendent that will manage it as a pharmacy outside you because you have a full-time job. So if we think that, oh, this is a license to make money, I can assure you not too many pharmacies in this country are smiling to the banks, dancing up and down. No. So you need to really understand it. If it's a side hustle, and I see a lot of people losing their shirts because they have a job and then they open a pharmacy and they're spending all their money to point it into a bottomless pit called a side hustle pharmacy. Yes, you can start your pharmacy in addition to your current job, but please treat it as a business and follow the business rules. Most people are suffering because of this mistake. I'll proceed. Now, this is another big mistake I see, and I see it even among the elites. They say, oh, I'm opening a community pharmacy because of cash flow. What do they mean? They say because the pharmacy makes money every day, I can quickly go there and collect 5,000 or 10,000, to meet a need, but if you are in other areas, if you're in hospital, you wait for salary. And I ask you, when you go and collect that money, whose money are you collecting? Is it the wholesaler's credit or what is it? And this, like I said, has led many businesses to their early graves, and sometimes it takes the owner along. And that is why we find an industry that is so credit-driven and the bad debts are stinking to the roof. Ask any average wholesaler. They rather sell to a non-pharmacist than a pharmacist. These are some of the basic challenges we are having, and we need to address them frontally. Are you starting this pharmacy because you want to retire? And I tell people, community pharmacy is not a retirement spot. When you have your full energy and you're on top of you are drinking Supradyn like no man's business and you're rolling energy all over the place, you are still struggling to make your books balance, not to talk of when you are retired at 60, 65 or 70, and then you now want to come and start retail pharmacy. You are just simply creating enjoyment for the children that are working with you. Are you doing it for money? Some of you have worked in top retail pharmacies, and you see huge turnover, and you're asking yourself, if I only get 10% of this kind of money, I'm fine. You only get in to find out that even the 100% is not catching it for you. And then are you opening it for charity? I know a lot of people who have very, what I call it, altruistic motives. Oh, they want to help humanity. Oh, that person is sick. Oh, they need treatment. Oh, and you just want to serve, but you forget that the business needs to be alive for you to be able to help people. And then the last is to meet need. Dear colleagues, the only or the most important reason for you to start a pharmacy will be to meet a need. A need, not your own need, the need of the customer. Because once the customer's need is met, your need will be met. So I'll talk about 13 things you need to look at. After that, I'll discuss the success nuggets, and then I'll allow you to go and continue your work. The first thing, I've talked about population before. Demographics, population density of the environment is crucial. You'll notice that in the classification by pharmacist Abiola Adekunle, he also made allusions to the fact that the income and the population of the people you are dealing with is very important. And so, what's the age of the people? The gender, the religion, the language, the income, the ethnicity, and the educational level. If you're in a retirement, if you're okay, I'll give you an instance now. In Magodo Phase 1 in Lagos, there's an estate within the estate And that estate is called Unilag Estate. Several years ago, Unilag Cooperative bought that, and largely the people in that estate are Unilag lecturers. Those that they are those that own the place, the properties there before they either sublet it to tenants or sold part of it. And so if you do your demographic analysis and you find out there are a lot of old people, your services must be targeted at old people. It's important. So chronic diseases, you must be on top of your game. Walking aids, mobility aids you must be on top of your game. I remember I had a speaking engagement in Delta, and I was with the then chairman of the ACPN, in Delta State. And we went, when I arrive a day earlier, I want to go around town, see the kind of practice so that I can speak to the realities on ground. And we went into a Health Plus store in the mall. Was it Health Plus or Net? I think it was Net Pharmacy in the mall. And then because Net Pharmacy, they are Farm Alliance members, so everywhere I go, I look out for my members. And he saw, this cane holder with different canes, and he was like, "Sure, no walking stick be this?" And I told him, "No, these are not walking sticks, because walking sticks are cheap. I think they are mobility aids. The moment you change the English, it changes the price." And so in that kind of environment, once you see that you have an environment where you have the elderly people, then you can't afford not to do sell mobility aids, pay reminders, and all those things. So you need to understand the demography of the people you are serving. Is it a Muslim community? Now, there's nothing wrong with you, a Christian, opening in a Muslim community, but it's important that in your employment, you must have people who can relate with that community. Now, let me move beyond religion and look at the ethnicity. So if, for instance, you're in Ibadan, usually I know in Lagos, there's a Sabo, in Ibadan, there's a Sabo, in the places where houses aggregate. Your ability to understand the language and relate with that ethnic group will go a long way in helping you. So even if you are from the north or the west and you have your store, or you plan to open a store around Alaba, Trade Fair, that's places where people from the east aggregate. It must form part of your value offering. In fact, if you must play music, 80% of your music should be from, if you're in Alaba, that axis should be from, should be Eastern music, so that the people in that area feel at home when they come to you. And then you also need to actively learn a few phrases in the language so that you can endear yourself to your customers. Same thing with the educational level, whether high, low, or medium, you must understand it so that you can fit into the place where you are doing your work. The geography. What is the geography of the place? Is it an urban area? Is it suburban? Is it a rural environment? That will go a long way in determining how you pattern your service. Remember, now we're looking at maximizing your location. You now have a location. How do you get the best out of that location? And then the psychography is also important. That is the why. Why are people buying from you? What are their interests? What are their hobbies? What are their lifestyle, their values, their attitudes? I mean, I know Redemption Camp is a big place, but then I don't know whether there is a retail pharmacy in the Redemption Camp. If there is, then you must be tailoring your value offering to the environment you find yourself. Now, all these things are because it's not important, not enough for you to know the kind of people who are in your area. It's also important for you to know the motivation of the people. So that if, for instance, when I talk about psychography, if, for instance, you are in a religious environment, now you know that for some people, religion does not follow taking medicine. So you must understand where they are coming from and then place your arguments in such a way that they still see the need. Yes, so yeah, you can be healed, hands can be laid on you, you can drink anointing, or however, there's still need for medicines. This is important. You can't take it for granted. Now, another important thing, the number and the type of pedestrians. And this talks about the people walking around your pharmacy. That's why I said you cannot just go to a place once, like it, and make a payment. No, you need to go at different times of the day and look at the kind of people who are moving around. And note that not every person moving around is a potential customer. Because once you determine the kind of pharmacy you want to run, then you also determine the kind of person you are targeting. So you want to know the age, you want to know the gender, the diurnal variation of congestion. So is it very busy at the time of the day and very light at the time of the day? Those are things you want to know. So please note that if you are evaluating two locations and they are equally good, and the only difference is the pedestrian traffic, please go for the one that has a higher pedestrian traffic. Now let's look at vehicles now. Similarly, you also need to know the vehicular traffic along an axis. But please note that it doesn't necessarily matter that a lot of cars moving around means good business. No. A lot of cars may mean bad business for you. Traffic congestion is not good for business. Distance decay also negatively affects your location of viability. What does that mean? If the distance between where your customer will park and your pharmacy is too long, it's going to affect your business. So it's important that when all other factors of any two locations are equally good, now note the difference between pedestrian and vehicular traffic. Pedestrian traffic is more important than vehicular traffic. Please note. Accessibility, that's number 4. We are going to 13. A pharmacy location has to be accessible. And so, because especially for pharmacies that sell convenience goods in neighborhoods where customers patronize you, they are near your house, your pharmacy is near their place. So accessibility of your place is very important. And so if your pharmacy is far from where people reside, then two things that will make it shorter and easier is the availability of mass transport and also access from expressways and alternate routes. Number 5, parking availability. Now, this looks like an impossibility in Lagos. In Lagos and perhaps a few other places, you see someone building a 5-story building that has a parking capacity for only 10 cars. And you begin to wonder, where would the customers of this business park? And so now, customers will patronize pharmacies that have ample parking space. But please note this, that if people don't have a choice, they will find a way of parking and coming to you. But please note that the moment they have a choice and they are driving by and they see a crowd and they can't find a place to park, they will move on. And so you need to factor that in as you begin to develop your service. Now, there's something we call dwell time in retail pharmacy parlance. And dwell time means how long is the customer dwelling in your premises. The longer they dwell, the more they spend. And that's why we call it also linger time. The longer they linger, the more they spend. Because when it's about retail, the opportunity for you to have somebody in your store, engage them in a discussion, provide solutions and options, the more they'll be able to spend. But if they're looking at their back, looking whether the police is going to tow their car, or they can't even find the parking space, the driver is on the road blocking traffic, they just want to pick what they want to pick and go. That affects your business. So to evaluate parking facilities, it's important that you look at the number of parking spots that are available. And sometimes, especially when it's a multi-tenanted building, they had 10 buildings and they think for your business, there are only 2 parking slots and all that. It has a way of affecting your business. And then God help you, you are in Ikeja or somewhere that there's no traffic, there's limited traffic. Maybe somewhere where Julie Pharmacy is close to Computer Village. Somebody will just drive in, stroll inside and stroll out away from the gates of the security guards and go and do what they want to do. And then they'll come back, the security man will really make noise. After that, there's not much you can do. So these are things, you see, for some of these things, some of you will be throwing your hands up in the air and say, look, there's nothing we can do. I agree with you. But if there's a choice, please try and work on something or do something. And like I said, distance to the store, the closer the parking to the store, the better. The store organization, when I say store organization now, the organization of stores where your pharmacy is. And you should look out for complementary stores that complement the kind of service you render. However, you should be worried about competing businesses. The important thing you should also note when it comes to complementary businesses, that if you share a row of offices or stores with a business that has a heavy vehicular traffic and heavy dwell time. So for instance, maybe there's a restaurant beside you, and you can't rush the food now, so you have to sit down and eat, and then that could present some challenges. So you want to look at all that while you are analyzing your location. Regulations, very important, especially in our own space. You need to look at the regulations of the council. You need to look at the regulations of the property owners, even before you pay, and even before we talk about maximizing your location. In some areas, the business hours are fixed. So these are things you ask ahead of time, because sometimes you may just you may be eager to pay and all that, and then you move in and they say, sorry, this plaza is open from 9 to 6. And you're asking yourself, my own business starts by 7:30. So these are things you need to check as you prepare either to expand or to start a pharmacy the first time. In some places, as part of your rent, there are service charges. There's a central generator. You are not allowed to bring in your own generator. And so maybe even in instances where they allow you open beyond when the plaza closes, you are not allowed to bring your generator, and they will shut down the facility generator when all businesses are closed. Or those places don't open on weekends, and you only want there on the weekend. Those are things you don't want to get in before you find out all these issues. These are questions you must ask before you sign your lease agreement. Now, in some areas, clutters and blockage of walkways are not permitted. Towards the end, I'll talk about what we call sidewalk interrupters. If it is not permitted, I remember vividly in my days when I was working, when I was in paid employment, we wanted to do a pharmacy screening with a pharmacy, and we were supposed to mount our screening point. It was in a mall. I was going to mount our screening point in front of the pharmacy with our roll-up stands, and the mall manager said, no, sorry, you can't do this. All the pharmacy paid for was inside the store. You can't do anything on the walkway. And for some of the events, they had to be canceled. In other ones, the pharmacy had to pay a fee to make sure that they were accommodated. I've heard also of a place where for you to host a program, a screening, whatever event, you must pay extra to the facility owners for you to use any space in the compound apart from the store you paid for. So it's important that you know what the regulations of the property are before you get yourself involved in some of the properties. A number of people have gotten themselves wounded and burnt just by not doing their due diligence. And also we found out that in some areas, and I heard this one, this was a case, I checked the people on the call now. Now we have over 200, a whole lot of people both on YouTube, and close to 300 on YouTube and this on Zoom, on this webinar. And the guy had finished paying, before he was told that, sorry, you can't sell drinks because somebody in the plaza is already selling drinks. And he was like, I cannot be a pharmacy. I can't sell water. I can't sell soft drinks. I can't sell healthy drinks, and that's simply because the due diligence was not done before the property was paid for. So these are things we need to really look at and understand before we, roll out and push out into business. And then in some places, renovation is not permitted, or the level of innovation is limited, and all that. And you want to come in and express yourselves, and they say, sorry, you cannot put POP, you cannot put suspended ceiling, you cannot put a wall, you can't put a nail, you can't put a this, These are things that you need to confirm before you go out and get a location. Number 8, the condition and the age of the building. Whether it is pedestrians or drivers, they will be attracted to pharmacies that are well designed, big, new, or upgraded. And I'll share some of these things with you. Now, the image I have on the screen is a pharmacy I did some work with some time back. And this is the pharmacy before we looked at before we did some intervention. And the fact that the pharmacy is like, it tells a story. And then for some of our pharmacies, some of them, I mean, if I share some pharmacy pictures with you, you will wonder. And so if you begin to look at it this way, there are some kind of people who will not want to enter this pharmacy. Even the poor wants to enter a good pharmacy. And so this is the same pharmacy after a little renovation. And something happened when this was done in the pharmacy. Customers came in. This pharmacy had been there for about 18, 20 years at the time. Customers came and said, wow, this is a new pharmacy. When did you guys open? And this is a pharmacy that had been there for close to 2 decades. Just because some renovation was done, people saw it in a new light, and then the patronage increased. Visibility is very key when you're talking about community pharmacies. So a good site is one that can be seen by pedestrians and vehicular traffic. Shoppers don't usually like going to a side road or a quiet side of a mall. So when you have a shop that is a store that is located at the entrance of the mall or a major road, the possibility of getting good in the business is higher. And then the adequate signage should be one that sticks out. I'll be explaining some things about this particular location now. This pharmacy, if you can see the cursor, is this pharmacy you see here is somewhere in this corner. Now, where you see this bike man is the main road of the estate. So for you to get to the pharmacy, you need to turn off the road. I'll share some further insights with this location. This is a location in Lagos on what was done recently and what it translated to in sales. Now, okay, I think I'm getting there now. The position in the location. Now, the fact that you are in Ikeja City Mall does not mean much. Where inside the Ikeja City Mall are you? Where in the Palms are you? Where in Cocoa Dome Mall are you? Do you know why this? If you study mall tenants, if you go to the mall frequently, you will see people say that, oh, we have moved from this store and we are now in this store. That's because they've studied human traffic and seen that, look, around this area, either closer to an anchor tenant or closer to an entrance has a heavy footfall. So what are the 3 important issues you need to look at? Which part of the street or mall is the selected site situated? Pharmacies located at an intersection of 2 major streets often have better patronage. What are the stores next to the site? And that's where the issue of anchor tenants come in. You'll find out that when you are going to pick a location in a mall, the most expensive locations are the ones close to the supermarkets, the hypermarket, in the case of ShopRite, in the case of Game, Spa, and the rest of them, and then the ones close to the cinemas. Those are places within people know that the large percentage of mall goers go to. And then the third one, which level is the best site located in? Is the site located in a multi-story building? Please note, and I'll come to it later down the line, retail is about convenience. Anything that smacks of inconvenience, your customers will move on. And so when you have any opportunity, please stay on the ground floor as much as possible, as much as is within your power. Stay on the ground floor because that is the convenient part of the building. The higher you go, the less the opportunity for business. Even though one of my teachers disproved this principle, well, I won't say disproved. They were on the 2nd floor, and when we reviewed their numbers were quite good. But that doesn't mean that if you're on the ground floor, it shouldn't have been much better. And so why am I saying this? As much as possible, keep your pharmacy on the ground floor. Okay, so now this is the pharmacy I was talking to you about. This is that side road I was talking about. And it's the same plaza. This plaza, as you can see on the screen here. Now the pharmacy moved from here, which is on that side, and they've now moved to the front here. I hope you can see my cursor. And this is the pharmacy now. having moved from that corner here on this side to the front here. And the change in revenue is obvious. They're in the same building. They just moved from one part of the building to the other. Now they are on the major, they're facing the major road of the estate, you know, and then the visibility is better. And then I spoke about something, I said sidewalk interrupters. This is an example of a sidewalk interrupter. This is something that arrests the attention of the customer and makes them come into the pharmacy. And we'll talk about that later. Now we are getting close to number 13, the size and the shape of the pharmacy. Now, while pharmacy law says 30 square meters, and some of us appeal for 25, 28 and all that, it's important to know that regular shapes of the pharmacy allows for better planning. You can get 30 square meters from this L, or this cross, or this drop, or this long row, but the best is a 4-cornered, you know, square or a rectangle that is not too long. That gives your store designer the opportunity to be able to, you know, do something good with the space. And I'll also implore us that please, as much as possible, when we are opening new stores, let's use store planners, even though they are few and far between, you know, in the industry. But people can help you look at your space and make the best of it, rather than you just call it. Sometimes engage an architect who can look at the space and then design something that's functional, rather than you being the architect, you being the surveyor, you call the carpenter, you call the plumber, call the electrician, and you just piece something together that doesn't really give aesthetic value. Number 12, okay, so I spoke about space planning. So whether you're in a mall or you're in a plaza or whatever, make sure that the walkways are not too narrow, because if it's too narrow, there'll be resistance. Some people don't like just the brush off, you know, haggling with people all over the place. Make sure the signage is good and the location of common facilities is clear and obvious to all people. And then the costs, lastly, it's very important. So are you buying this retail space, or are you leasing it, or are you building your pharmacy from the ground floor? How much is your rent? Now, apart from, for most pharmacies, apart from the salaries, the next huge amount they pay on a monthly basis or annual basis is the rent. And there's a factor you need to calculate when you're looking at your rent, you know, to know whether it's really worth it. Is there service charge? You know, when you pay your money, you know, there are all sorts of things added. Is there service charge to it? Are there any hidden charges? And then who bears the cost of renovation and repairs? So the 13 things I've mentioned now are the things you must note, even as you go about trying to set up a pharmacy. In selecting the site and selecting the location, you know, looking at the whole landscape and pointing where exactly you want to play. I'll be sharing a few success nuggets with you, give you a parting shot, and that will be the end of my session. So what are the success nuggets? Number one, visual appeal is important. People buy first with their eyes before they open their wallets. So the signage is important. The lighting, I've spoken about sidewalk interrupters. I won't go into it anymore. And then the external facade. I also shared an example of external facade with you, how changing the way the pharmacy looks from the outside changes people's perception. And like, you know what they say, perception is reality. Now, I have a big issue with community pharmacists across the country and signages. Most of us just do a signage that is big enough for the entrance door, and you leave all the space on the left and on the right to waste. And some of them, to complicate matters, they'll say, if the signage is too big, we'll pay too much to the to LASA. And I say, why don't you pay this one-off fee and then enjoy the visibility that comes with a big signage? When you see a store with a big signage, it gives you an impression that there's a lot happening in there. But if the signage is small, just enough to, you know, hang on your door, then you're doing yourself a whole lot of injustice. Lighting is also very important. White light. The exterior of your pharmacy should be brightly lit, especially at night. Because, I mean, apart from giving you visibility, it's also good for security reasons. The next thing I need to talk about is that for your signage, I usually will vote for the lighting being shown on the signage. rather than you putting lights inside your signage. I say that because once it's inside your signage, even if there are 15 bulbs, one by one, they'll start to blow off. And you'll find out that your Ori Molade pharmacy, the light in the Ori is gone. And then they're only looking at the Molade, and they say, we didn't find you, we've been going around, we didn't see you, because half of your name is in darkness. And so you need to, but if it's light that is shining on the billboard that is well done, and I emphasize on well done, then it's easier for you. If a light goes out, you can easily replace it. And so this is the kind of signage you will see in most pharmacies, you know, just enough to fit above the door. Meanwhile, there's a whole space out on top, which I'll show you in the next slide now. Now, this is the same signage you can see here. However, look at the amount of space that was available before now that was unutilized. And then look at what the new signage looks like. And so these are things we need to understand. We need to be able to maximize and leverage this when we are, you know, selecting and designing our store outlets. I've spoken about this earlier. Now, this is also a very important thing that we need to understand, that all roads are not made equal. Now, the fact that we said, oh, heavy vehicular traffic does not mean you go and put your pharmacy on the Ikorodu Road or Lagos-Ibadan Expressway or Lagos-Badagry Expressway. The fact that you're in those places and the cars are moving and not stopping is not to your advantage. It's even worse if there's a major line separating incoming and outgoing traffic, such that for customers to come to you, they need to get to the end of the road to go and turn. That's a negative for your business. And so you need to look at it very well. Instances where the roads are not totally blocked and then there are breaks where cars can turn around, that's good, as long as you're on that path where they can easily turn and get to you. Because I made that mention because if there are a few pharmacies that have done things that are against the grain, it has worked fantastically for them. Classic example is Vanguard Pharmacy in Ibadan, the flagship store that is now the head office, you know, is on Iwo-Monoton Road, you know, and that's like an express, you know, but then they were able to put together an imposing edifice that, you know, makes you stop and then patronize them. And then, I mean, like we like to say, the rest is history. But the one you should avoid is a U-turn that is like at a dead end on a major road. And that's why I tried to put this graphic together. Now, if you have cars going like this and turning to come back, these 3 red spots are bad locations for your business. Why do I say they are bad locations? Number one, because cars are slowing down to make this turn, there will usually be some form of traffic on this axis. Now, if you get in here, to get out will be a big problem, because number one, there's traffic, and then you are trying to reverse into, I mean, I know there are some pharmacies like this, and they are really struggling. Same thing on this other side too. As you are negotiating the bend, at this point, you are still trying to find your way. If you put your pharmacy here, it's going to be difficult. So let's be wary of all these things. Don't just go saying, this road is a very busy road. You know, where on that road are you going to be? I know a pharmacy who has moved 3 spots on the same road. You know, one was very bad. Then they moved down the road, it was good. Then they now moved further again and it was the best. We need to understand how these things work. And usually it's not by guesstimate. Yes, you can pray and then you will sit in a vision. But there are times you really need to get your pen to paper and do your analysis. So also please try and stay away from sharp bends. There's one pharmacy in particular that always comes to mind anytime I'm going to work. It's at a sharp bend where there's 0 parking. So let's use this as an example. The pharmacy is in a place like this corner, even though it's not a U-turn. So as you come in like this and you turn, I see the pharmacy, but before I comprehend, I've moved past the pharmacy. There's 0 parking in front of the pharmacy. And so those are things we need to look out for when we pick our locations. Let's not, out of desperation, make bad decisions that may be difficult to remedy. Proximity to a bus stop, road intersection, and Okada gathering is fantastic for your business. Because the moment, remember I said foot traffic is more important than vehicular traffic. So the more you have this kind of things in your favor, the better for you. Now, marketing activities. Most of us don't market our businesses. What we do is like the image you have here, we are winking in the dark. We are working, but we are the only ones that know we are working. You know, and so I said that your marketing activity will be determined by the kind of location you are in. So if you are on the high street, you're on Adiola Odeku, you are on sorry, I'm still using Lagos examples. You're on Allen Avenue, you are on in Ibadan, you are on Ring Road, you know, the kind of pharmacy, the kind of marketing you will do will be targeted at the corporate market, because it's offices that usually surround you on that axis, offices and businesses. So you need to do something that makes those businesses come to you. If it's residential, then you need to begin to engage, you know, the residents association, landlord association, and then begin to offer them services in the group setting that will make them come to you individually. Now, even though residential is the same as estate, but I usually like to make further emphasis when it comes to the estates. Now, for an estate business, it is not likely that anybody outside that estate will come and buy from you. And so you already know your universe of customers, unless, of course, you are offering a unique service that people come to look for. So you need to be able to know your universe and know for a fact that you cannot capture your full universe. So take the percentage of your universe you want to catch and then mine it to the fullest. Then it can be mixed. There are places that are both residential and street. Your strategy to your marketing activities to will be a mixed approach to them. Now, if you are close to a market, there are things you must do for the market for them to know that you are there. And I remember one of my colleagues, Farm Alliance members that I took to a location to do an evaluation for. And she was telling the person who went to visit that, look, don't believe these women, but I said they don't have money. They have a lot of money. All those things they tie on their waist, and it's money. And if you don't collect it, O1B parties and the rest of it, because they won't spend it on their health unless you make them know it's important. So, and that has to do with the marketing activity and communication you send out. And then also, if you are in front of a hospital, there are marketing activities you can make. I will not, and I do not under any guise support you entering an arrangement with doctors or other professionals to collect a cut when they refer customers to, you know, that's unethical and shouldn't be found in the midst of men of honor. But there are still things you can do, especially with your with the patients. Offer them clinical services that make them come to you even when they don't come for when it's not the clinic they came for. We've seen the scenarios where this has worked, and we can always do that in our businesses. Other things you can do is to, either before you start or after you start, seek an opportunity to talk to a group of Okada riders, group of landlords, group of, you know, even in an office environment, the bank. I remember in times past, I worked with some pharmacies that go as early as 7:30 to a bank to run a screening before business starts. Those are things you can do, you know, talk about a disease condition, and then you can then talk about your business and make them come back to you for further engagement. Now, this is an area that I find that a number of us have issues with, and I really don't know where the problem is coming from. Marketing your services to doctors, nurses, labs, and the rest of them. And the reason is largely because most of us only sell drugs. We don't provide services. So let me give you an instance. Let me give you a complex example. Can you imagine if you have an anticoagulation therapy service in your pharmacy, and the doctor, and most hospitals don't do anything around that, and you let them know that if you have any patients on this, we are here to provide the service. Doctors will willingly send you because they know they don't have the competence. And so you need to begin to look for those kind of services we can render, compounding services. Some private hospitals have need for those services, but they didn't know that you as a pharmacy can compound medicines. I remember discussing with dermatologists, and they're like, look, pharmacies, you know, you are leaving your area undone, you know, dermatological compounding. If they know you can do it, they'll definitely refer patients to you. And whenever you want to start your pharmacy, please launch with a grand opening. You know, preceded by a coming soon campaign. You know, these are the things that, you know, help you to reach out to your community, let them know something big is coming. The image you have here is the founder, CEO of Vanguard Pharmacy with the Olubadan of Ibadan, the current Olubadan. It was a pharmacy store they were opening. They were opening a branch of the pharmacy, and they mobilized the whole town, including the Olubadan, to attend the pharmacy opening. So can I ask you, what's your excuse? People are doing it. You can do all these things. You can set yourself apart. You can raise the bar of practice and make your pharmacy the go-to place. And please, I'm giving you success tips now. You need to understand that there's gestation and there's idiosyncrasy in location analysis. What do I mean by gestation? By gestation, I mean that there are some pharmacy locations that may take you years to build. Yes, you got me right, years. A number of us look at Kunle Ara Pharmacy in Ibadan, we are like, this man is lucky. That's a strategic location, UCH. I beg to differ. Kunle Ara Pharmacy was not the first pharmacy in that place. He's actually the third pharmacy. And it took him 2 years of near frustration, but consistently staying in that location for things to turn around. So there are locations where you need to continue to work and build your presence over time. However, there's also a challenge with that. There are times, and that's what leads to this comment, that you should never be too sentimentally attached to a location. If it's not working, let it go. So the question is, how do I balance this thought with the issue of gestation? And so I'll leave you to your spiritual sources to work that out. But it's important that you know that sometimes it's a gestation issue and sometimes you just need to move on. And then also, there are other instances that you may want to look at. There's one big one that comes to mind. There's a major road in Ikeja, you know, that has many pharmacies. And there's a pharmacy there now that is barely a year old that is doing amazing numbers. And just 200 meters down the road to that pharmacy is another pharmacy that has been there for several decades, for a number of decades, and has now closed down, all within a 200-meter space. So it's important that you know that some locations have their own idiosyncrasies. You need to know what exactly this location desires and deserves. If you don't know it and you are serving them a particular dish that they don't like eating, they'll go somewhere else. And that's very important for us to note. And then also, for instance, I keep using Vanguard Pharmacy as an instance because he has been able to do some daring things, especially when it comes to, I've shown you his store opening, I've shown you the veterinary side, you know, and when they were going into places like Osogbo and Abeokuta, you will want to wonder that those areas are not congested, they are not virgin lands, as in why is it, there are already pharmacies there. But having gone there with a unique value offering, they were able to quickly spin the game, and before you know it, in a few months, you know, the businesses are standing on their own and they are growing ever so well. So there's a need for us to do our groundwork and make sure that all we are doing for our businesses are the things our locations desire and deserve. Some of us have just locked down, open, close, open, close. We are not reimagining our businesses. We are not reinventing our businesses. And of course, customers, after a while, they get tired and they move on, look for something more exciting. And one thing I need you to understand as community pharmacists, they never taught us this in school, but you need to know, retail is about convenience. So let's compare retail locations and wholesale locations. Retail is about convenience, wholesale is about localization. You remember this when you do business studies, localization of industries. When you are going to a wholesale, when you want to go and buy, you would rather have a number of wholesalers around the area so that if one doesn't have, you know, you can stop by the next place. That is what drives the open market, in quotes, because you know that by the time you get there, you say about 30, 40 people you can, before you leave, you find everything you're looking for. And in some areas in Lagos, for instance, it's already happening, you know, on an axis, you see a New Heights, you see a Nemit, you see a Farmfort, you see a you know, so that people are, you know, moving around those areas. And so once the drug distribution system is sanitized and we get our senses right and the markets are done away with, then we begin to see some of these things evolving. But back to the issue I'm talking about, retail is about convenience. Some people will leave you at the slightest evidence of inconvenience. If you doubt me, pray that the government of your state will smile on your area and come and tar your untarred road. And then they block your road for some 3 months. And let's see how that will happen, how that will affect your business. People who are moved by convenience will just wish you all the best until the road is opened. And you also need to know this, that people don't travel a long distance or endure inconvenience to purchase commodities. And this talks about your ability to personalize your services and give people value for their spend. If you keep giving them things that it's just paracetamol you are selling, it's just vitamin C you are selling, and no added value, then the moment they move 1 kilometer away from where they used to live, they shift to the pharmacy closer to them. And then when you are building your pharmacy layout and everything, remember the two-legged pets. In retail parlance, two-legged pets are the people that follow the people that came to spend the money. So they can be boyfriends, they can be husbands, they can be children, they can be friends. And so the more though the interests of those people are captured, the better. Or else they will hasten they will be in a hurry to leave. And then of course, the person who wants to spend your store too has to leave in a hurry. And the issue of proximity is also very important. What do I mean by proximity? Now, it's important for us for when you want to open your pharmacy, you want to know whether, because a number of people in setting up their pharmacy stores, in setting up their pharmacy stores, they want to put it in a place close to where they live. Now that's, you may be able to defend that for a first store, but are all your pharmacies always going to be around where you live? When you were paid employment, you were traveling to work, but now you want to open a pharmacy, you want it to be, just down your road. When you are taking a business decision, you factor everything together. So yes, you are starting off, it may be more convenient for you, but is it convenient for your customer and what they want? Still on the convenience matter, and it's something you need to ponder on and make up your mind to be in business for the customer and not yourself. And then one thing you also need to look at very closely is business continuity planning. And what do I mean? What kind of shocks can happen and close your business? We saw what COVID has done. Some businesses have been wiped out. So what can wipe you out? I can hear some people saying, God forbid, it's not my portion. I agree with you, but think about it and plan for it. What are the kind of things I'm talking about? The moment you are doing very well and you attend the induction of your landlord's child and you are there, you attend the matriculation of your landlord's child that studied pharmacy, and you're also alive to witness the induction, and the person is also doing a holiday job in your pharmacy. I hope you have a business continuity plan that you may not be in that place for too long. Because there are times, I'm not saying it's always the case, but then there are times when they just look at you and after a while, say, sorry, don't bother to renew next year's rent. I want to use that space for something else. And before you know it, another pharmacy opens there or something. So it's when it comes to business continuity planning, you look at the risks of your sites and then you make plans to mitigate them. What if there's a property dispute or family issues, or they sell the property? And that has happened to a number of people. Or in the master plan, this is actually affecting one of my members now, because there's a plan for Lagos State to dualize their road. And once they dualize, they've already marked that half of the pharmacy is gone. And so the question is, how do I make sure I continue to be in business, looking at different risks that can happen? And for no reason, the landlord may say, okay, sorry, just like it happened to New Heights. New Heights Pharmaceuticals used to be at the current Maryland mall. One day, after paying rent, barely how many months, the owners of property just said, don't bother to renew. We are demolishing this place. Now that's a business continuity challenge. So look at your business and ask yourself, what can, about the site, now we're not talking about business processes, this site, how secure is my business? And if anything happens, how do I survive? For some people, it is about getting the multi-store approach. Okay, I'll have another store on this. So if something happens to one, I have another to fall back on. But please, don't open another store simply for business continuity planning purposes. Open it because you are meeting a need in that area you want to open it. And then another business continuity strategy can be, doing delivery services, e-commerce, and the rest of them. Because if you have a heavy business, let's assume 50% of your business is coming from deliveries, and you build it up, which can be a continuity plan. If for any reason you have to change location, you still have your data and you can still deliver even out from a different location. And of course, we look here now at the threats of e-commerce. This is my last slide before my parting shot. Okay, I've overshot my time by several minutes, but let's round up now. Technology threats. Now, I've told people severally that we seem to be enjoying 200 meters today, but it will not be relevant for too long because of the advent of e-commerce. It will get to a time 200 meters will not matter anymore because I can service a customer 200 kilometers away. And I tell people, especially when I speak in places like Abuja, Benin, Delta, I say your case is worsened if you have an airport in your city. What that means is that I can promise a customer that in 8 hours, they will get their medicines, and I will send it from Lagos to Kano or Calabar or Akwa Ibom, and they will get it. And actually, that customer will be on top of your pharmacy. And so we need to begin to look at all these things and position ourselves and not be fixated on the locational barriers we have created for ourselves, the distance barriers, because when you combine 200 meters with the word community pharmacy, you just create a 200-meter circumference around yourself and say, that is my community. I own it. No other person comes close to me. And so we need to keep that in mind and begin to plan for it. My parting shot. Now, that is a baboon with a stick, and he wants to go and wake up a sleeping lion. Which of them do you think I am? I think I'm the one with the stick. So my parting shot will be to go and wake a sleeping lion. But I'm very sure we still have over, close to 200 plus people on the webinar right now. So you guys will defend me, right? Yeah, nobody answered. Okay, let's go on. So I might say, is this 200-meter requirement, is it still justified? I say, you see, I'm not challenging anything. Don't get me wrong. I only want us to think again. Now, when 200 meters was, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I'm only saying let's think about it. The idea is that let's protect ourselves. Let's spread out. I've heard people say that, we are getting choked. So when you don't register, people will be forced to go out. Since you have been forcing, have they gone? No. And I just believe that competition brings out the best in everyone. If some people, because of the 200 meters, they become lackadaisical. They know that nobody can come near me. So even if I don't sell anything, nothing. And so we need to look more at population versus pharmacy density to say that, are we able to serve the community? Are we able to, like I said, it's not a very popular thought process, but then it's mine and I'm sharing it. We need to begin to look more at population and then the pharmacy density to serve that population. Because even when you look at the way this 200 meters is measured, it is grossly incorrect. Surveyors and people whose job it is to measure, they laugh at us because we go with a wheel, and then when you want to cross the road, you climb the road and all that. That's not the correct way to measure. You can use a geospatial. There are different ways to measure, even if you want to keep it right. And then this is complicated by the different politics with PIC, ACPM, PC, and all the rest. And you see people who have paid rent since January. By July, they are still waiting for second inspection or first inspection. And I just feel that we need to call ourselves together and speak some hard truths to ourselves in the interest of the patient. And at the end of the day, everybody will do well. And I said that we need to leverage technology to seek opportunities and also to regulate. So ordinarily with a geospatial map that you can, unfortunately there's not too much of it, but just using technology, Google Earth, Google Map, you can begin to see some things. PCN can begin to use such technologies for inspection, for regulation, for approvals and all those things. Because the inefficiency in the current process of PIC, PCN, ACPN, PSN, and that mix is making a whole lot of pharmacies lose a lot of money. I can hear some of you clapping on one side. I can hear some of you writing a petition against me on the other side. I can hear some of you praying that, hey, you won't keep quiet. But then, I mean, it's just out there. Because sometimes I wonder, this should be something we can outsource. Can we get a company, maybe owned by pharmacists who enjoy inspection and everything? Let's set up that company for inspections. So when I call them and I have an inspection, in 24 hours, they can actually come and inspect. I can pay for express. Then I come and inspect and come and tell me whether it flies. If it flies, I can pay the rent. Rather than pay a 1 million naira, and then after half of the rent is gone, they now come back and say it is 199 meters. And I know a number of people who are crying under the street. And it is those who are processing the 200 meters have very, very valid reasons for it. It is just for us to be able to harmonize it and make sure it works for everybody. And I hope it sits well. I'm also asking the question about that, so you can see why I'm like a baboon that wants to go and wake a sleeping lion. You can also see the issue of pharmacies and filling stations. Okay, so I'm also asking the question of, can we have a pharmacy in a filling station? They say no. And I say, why? They say it's not healthy or hygienic or something. And I say, okay, which one is more dangerous, food or medicines? Because there are eateries in filling stations. And so I believe this is, like I said, it's time for us to sit down again and begin to think through these things. Now they say, okay, pharmacies can be in a market, but then if a market or close to a market or something, but then a market is an aggregation of a large number of people. What happens when they have healthcare needs? I'm just asking. These are things, because we're talking about location and sites, we want to look around. I think they say also in motor parks and the rest of them, you can't have a pharmacy. But in an aeroplane park, which is an airport, there can be a pharmacy, but in a motor park, it can't be a pharmacy. Like I said, we can think about these things. ACPN can engage PSN, and reevaluate the thing, and let's do something that works. Let's begin to, as a roundup, let's begin to look outside the city centers. That is where the real treasures are. It may be inconvenient. Not everybody I've told to go to Badagry to open a pharmacy has said, it's far. I say, I agree. But for as long as we all say it's far, then the patent medicine guys that are holding sway there, you can't blame them. I hear that the patent medicine secretariat in that area is a 2-story building. They built it from ground floor up. And when pharmacists attempt to go there, they will threaten you with, you hear, the last person that came, just didn't see the person again, and all that. We need to serve our communities. We need to, branch out and deliver. So retail location analysis, sites analysis is a very thorny issue in pharmacy. My job is done. I thank you all for listening for this 2 hours plus webinar. Like I said, you will get the slides after in a few hours, but latest by tomorrow morning, you have the slides and the replay link. The replay link will be on until the next webinar comes up. So you have it stored up for you. And on that note, I'd like to say thank you very much. And don't forget the panel 12, Ride Out the Storm, 20,000 Naira, August 11 to 13, 3-day hybrid conference, save the date. Thank you very much. I'll take your questions now. Okay, so Okay, let me quickly look at the comments before. Okay, Supradin, there's something, a new height better sent to us in London as well. Well, we'll talk to them. I'm looking through the comments now. Elaborate and detailed. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the comments are beginning to come in. Copy of slide. You all get this. As long as you're registered for the slide, you'll all get it. Okay, my regular customers from Yes Bar Zone. I can see. Can we get group discounts for the panel? Yes, that's a difficult question for me to answer. And I'll explain why it's difficult. If we get the approval that we are expecting from PCN, that's going to take a whole chunk of the money you have paid. We are not going to charge you separately because it's MCPD accredited. We are going to take up that cost. But Farmer Bijo, don't worry. Let's talk about this, and we can work something out. We definitely can work something out. You have Yes Bar Zone is one of our biggest partners when it comes to the panel. And this is also to other groups. As long as you can get, aggregate in numbers larger than 10, we can discuss a discount for you. And so just reach out to us by email and we'll take it up from there. So now I'll be taking the questions. And there are very few of them. I hope they don't expand before this. Okay, so Dr. Lubake from the Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Lagos says, will Okada and bus stop not constitute a nuisance eventually to the pharmacy? I'll say no. You see, this is the way it works. Sorry, let me just tidy a few things up. So I'm not saying that, sorry. I'm not saying you should open your store directly, that the front of your pharmacy should be an Okada park. No. What I'm saying is that your pharmacy being close to an Okada or park or a bus stop makes it easy for people who are stopping or taking a bus to patronize your pharmacy. Remember I said pedestrian traffic is more important than vehicular traffic. So the more people who have access to your pharmacy to see your pharmacy. So just imagine I stop 80 meters away from your pharmacy. If I need to walk back before I then go, you're going to lose me as a customer. And then also Okada people, the more you work with them and then they know you as the go-to pharmacy, then the more they even bring customers to you, you know, and all that. So that's how it works. I hope I answered your question. I understand what you mean by the rowdiness and everything, the nuisance and all, but then there's a positive side to it that you want to mine. Are you getting the slides? Yes, you get the slides. Can security issues be the reason for under optimization of some locations? Won't that also be considered as part of the reasons why some places have less pharmacies? I know where you're going to. So let's remove Borno from the picture. Let's remove, where else can we remove? There's insecurity everywhere right now. But when it comes to Boko Haram, so let's remove Borno, Yobe, and maybe Adamawa. One of my biggest Moxie customers is from Adamawa State, pharmacist Shapi at Danjuma, yeah, of JDS Pharmacy. And he says he keeps begging people to come to open, you know, pharmacy businesses in that, because they are very few and far between. And in less than how many years that he opened his pharmacy in Adamawa, he has built his own mega pharmacy complex. So it's not so much about the security. And what he told me when we had a discussion, he said that security is a perception thing, what you read in the news. It's not exactly like that on ground. And so please work with the population information, work with the other data around you. And for some of us, you know, you're a rep in some far-flung areas, that may be a good, you know, opportunity for you to build a route in that place and open your store, and then, you know, you can do well. The other issues you then want to have, do I want to live my life in that place and all that? Once you put the right business structure in place, which is a lot of work, you may be able to, you know, have your cake and eat it. Okay, you get the slides. Yes. What advice do you have for someone who is looking to get a location around Allen Okpebi area of Ikeja? I will say that you should. The immediate answer that comes to my head is don't bother. But I won't say don't bother because you may be coming with a different flavor. Because Allen Okpebi Tony axis is choked with pharmacies. I'm sure there are more than 20 pharmacies on that axis, you know. And so the question is, what exactly are you bringing to the table that is different from what is being offered? And those kind of locations are very expensive. So you are going to pay a high rent and then you're going to struggle to differentiate yourself. So my advice, I won't advise you to, but then it's only my advice and I'm entitled to it. You may still do as you want, but I don't think it's a good, as of today, I think it's that location has been maxed out. Is the 20,000 registration for both on-site? No, the 20,000 registration is for online. We won't be taking we won't be taking on-site participants. On-site participation will largely be Farm Alliance people and a few people who, if you insist you want to come on-site, then you must be willing to pay about 50,000. But the 20,000 is, because like I said, it's a largely virtual conference, 5 hours every day for 3 days. And what we are packaging, you don't want to miss it. I can assure you, this is not sweet talking. This is the real issue. I want to ask, do Farm Alliance run location analysis and inspection for new pharmacies? No, we don't. We don't do it. It's not a service we render. No. We are just a group of pharmacies that come together to share best practices on a regular basis. And I don't offer that consulting service either. Okay. I think the other question, okay, so somebody says, what is Ride Out the Storm about? Okay, so you're essentially asking what is the panel conference about? The panel conference is an annual retail pharmacy business summit that brings in community pharmacies from all over the country into a location in Lagos for a conference. We did that for 11 years until this year with the COVID pandemic. We are now migrating from a live conference to a hybrid conference. So normally last year we had about 360 community pharmacies from about 28 states of the Federation in Lagos for the panel. But for this year, we want to do like 700 from all across the country and in the UK virtually. But then, like I said, all the speakers will come to a location in Lagos. There are going to be a few participants on site, you know, to engage the speakers. We are going to have virtual exhibition. This is the first time it's done in the country. We are going to give away gifts worth over 1 million naira. Take it from me. Last year, somebody, because they attended the panel, went to Dubai and came back on a 1-week all-expense paid trip. Those are the kind of things we do in the panel. People have won generators, inverters, 40-inch TV sets, all sorts of things. So once we open the portal, please make sure you register and participate, because once Pharmacists Council gives us the approval, it means that you are going to get MCPD points, even for the amount you have paid. Can pharmacies be located in filling stations? I think right now it's a gray area. There's nothing that said you should, there's nothing that says you shouldn't, but I think typically it's not approved. I think SBN needs to engage with the stakeholders and understand why it is not approved, and let's have a discussion around it. Thank you sincerely. You have woken up the lion. Well, I hope the lion doesn't bite anybody. Is virtual pharmacy doable? I'm not sure I understand that question. I may need to get virtual pharmacies. That's if it's online pharmacy, the laws of the land say that it must be tied to a brick and mortar store. So you can't just open a pharmacy online and say that's all you have. No, you have to be a physical store first and then have an online extension. Can you explain the use of Google Analytics to determine population density? I've tried it, doesn't seem to get it right. Okay, so Google Analytics will not do population density for you, to the best of my knowledge. If you want to get population density, you go to Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. They have a website. That's where I got most of my data from. You may say it's not accurate, but that's all we have to work with. Yes, so what Google Earth will show you is when you look at the Google map from the satellite, you can see the green areas, you can see the built up areas and all that. So you pick the information you get from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics on their website, now cross-match it with what Google is telling you, and then take a decision. What would you describe to be a successful pharmacy store? That's a JAMB question, and I'll give a JAMB answer. It is a store that meets the objectives of those who set it up. So it goes to, you know, I say you start with why. Why are you setting it up? So if you meet the objective, then you're successful. You don't measure your success by what other people say. You measure it by what you set out to do. Last 3 questions, and I'm out of here. Can we have your email and WhatsApp number? Let me see, has somebody responded to that? Can we get Supradyn in Port Harcourt? Ogechi, they're asking whether they can get Supradyn in Port Harcourt. I'm sure that answer is a very big yes. In an area where there's only one pharmacy serving 4 communities with many patent stores, how will you know the best location to open your pharmacy? Remember I said that it's about the population. So if the population is guaranteed, then you now look at the other things I spoke about, the bus stop, the visibility and all those other things. You set up your pharmacy. It's not about the patent medicine stores. Those are only competition for you. It is how you respond to that competition. So if you put together a service that people are willing to take up, then you can rest assured that after a while, the patent medicines will let go. It has happened severally in a number of places. I can tell you, ask Victory Drugs, ask a number of them. They'll tell you how when you raise your bar of service, the other guys will find their way to go and sell cosmetics or go somewhere else. How do I get demographics of a community where I intend to open a pharmacy? How do I get an idea of the hobbies? Well, you need to go there a lot. You need to drive around. You need to ask questions. You need to talk to people who are there, look for people who live there. And then, you know, it takes a lot of grunt work. There's no textbook anywhere that you will find the answer. You need to create the answer for yourself. So look at what's happening in the community. Are there drinking parlors? Do they like to drink? You know, just look at it and then form an opinion, and then you take it up from there. Can we have your email and WhatsApp? Yes, the mail with which you get all our correspondences, respond to that mail and you'll be talking to me or somebody on my team. Whoa, looks like questions are increasing. The consideration for citing a pharmacy of premises is beyond pecuniary gains. The council is working on a number of things that will improve inspectorate activities. Yes, that is good. Thank you very much. I say that is good because this is okay, some people are still sending comments. This is pharmacist Aria from the council. She's one of the people, and I'm very glad she's on this webinar. She's one of the people whose job it is to make sure that we all enjoy the pharmacy we practice. And so she has said that the council is working on a number of things that will improve inspectorate activities. And believe me when I say Mrs. Pharmacist Antonia Aria is one of the best hands we have in pharmacy practice today. And I am appreciative of these comments. And because when you hear, oh, council went, you know, as pharmacists, we are very quick to speak derogatory words about the council people. When they say we sealed 200 pharmacists, they leave them, they'll soon go and reopen it. And I say, if you know the work that the people in council are putting into, you know, make sure we have a good practice environment, you'll appreciate them better. Thank you very much, Pharmacist Aria, for that. We trust in your capabilities to help close down the illegal competition that we may thrive and do well. Thank you very much, ma'am. I lost my track of the questions. Just to add, the presentation was very well delivered. Thank you very much, ma. Are the slides coming to our emails immediately? I won't say immediately, no, but they will come as they usually will come. Yes, the slides will come because we need to wait for the replay to be ready, which Zoom does on its own. When we get it, we then send it to you. So don't worry, it will come sooner than later. I think I have answered all the questions that I can see. Okay. Okay, so I think that is all. Okay, let me just go back again and check for the comments in case some people dropped comments I need to respond to. Well done. Okay, it's all the well done. Thank you for the very enlightening. Okay, good. Somebody has, so please check the chats area. So for all Supradin inquiries, the phone number is there. Please do well to direct your inquiries to Pharmacist Ogecho, and you have them answered. On that note, dear colleagues, it has been a very, very well spent afternoon for me. From the comments I see, it looks like I was able to make a little sense in spite of the fact that I was waking up a sleeping lion. But then together we'll make this practice great again, irrespective of whatever we are going through now. We are very confident that pharmacy will be great in our time. On that note, I'll say thank you. The slides, the presentation you will get shortly. Thanks to everybody who has participated. I especially like the fact that a number of people in academia are increasingly joining our webinars. Dr. Joda, Associate Professor Joda, thank you very much. Dr. Lubake, thank you. It means, it shows that they are interested in the real practice out here, and then that would also inform what the upcoming pharmacists learn. From all our pharmacists from all over the country, thank you very much. It's been great having you on this webinar. And I look forward to seeing these kind of impressive numbers when we host panel 12, Ride Out the Storm. Thank you very much. You've been a beautiful audience.